talking about the idea, therefore, that we have good relationships with employees.
Well, you have to know your people, the people you lead as a leader. Because how can you lead me if you don't know me?
As employees, will be asked to carry the burden and carry the company when things are not good. But when things are good, the gain sharings are not coming.
Welcome to Organizational Behavior with Sifiso Moyo. We have an interesting episode today. I'm here with my friends. I told you that I host this podcast to hang out with people I like.
Sure.
And then people are just going to benefit. I'm just hanging out with my friends. So we're going to chat about something very interesting. There's an interesting theory in organizational behavior called leader-member exchange theory. I must always draw. If you like to being deep, it also called the vertical dyad linkage theory. Always try to be fancy, boy. Must never waste education.
Never.
Even when you're broke, if you're educated, you must say, I'm illiquid. Never waste education, boy.
I had a friend come to me and say, I'm temporarily financially inconvenienced. Can you help me?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what do you mean?
I like that.
Look, yesterday, this lady, I've got a site. I own quite a few sites. So there's this site that I use. I've rented it from Prasa. So during COVID, I did not pay. I mean, everyone did not pay, so I did not pay. So I'm like in arrears. So this lady is like encouraging me to pay. So whenever she calls me, so yesterday she calls and then call me English. She's like, wow, you can speak English. I'm like, yes, I can.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm educated. In engineering, I did management, I did all these things. I actually worked at corporate for 20 years plus. And she's like, wow, I didn't think you could speak English. I said, no, Tandi Sizulu.
But I can speak this thing.
That's it.
So guys, the LMX theory, as it is called, suggests something very disturbing for me. It suggests that leaders form different relationships with each of their subordinates. It proposes that leaders differentiate between what they call in-group people and out-group. So when you're leading people, there are people in your in-group who have higher quality exchange relationships with the leader, which are characterized by mutual trust, there's respect, the way we treat each other. I'm supporting that person even more. But there are then people in the so-called out-group with limited communication. Even the relationship, you can tell it's tense, it's formal, it uses kind regarding language. You can tell that this is a little bit too formal. So we wanna chat about this because some of the research then says the quality of that leader-member relationship influence various organizational behavior outcomes. So it influences how satisfied people are with their jobs, because if I have a better relationship with my leader, then I'm satisfied with my job. It influences how committed I am to the organization. It influences how I perform. It influences turnover intentions. In other words, if the relationship is not that great, then I want to leave, and it even influences our well-being. So for me, this is really, really important. So to chat about that, to chat about what I called the employment relationship is not inherently antagonistic. So this adversarial relationship between an employer and employee, or this exchange between an employer and employee, is one of the things that I want us to talk to about. So I have distinguished guests who didn't need introduction. They've already laughed. Yes. People I call friends, and I'm blessed. The first up, we have Khomotso Makapane, who's a director or partner at Bowman's. These are the people who, when you watch Suits, what is the Suits there? That Suits influenced a lot of people to go legal route.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone, when I was watching Suits, I was like, I want to be a lawyer, nurse. But obviously I'm not there. So he boasts over a decade experience in the legal field. He also acts as a judge at the Labour Court of South Africa once in a while. He's in Jamadota!
Okay, thank you.
Look at the team going. You can't hit tables. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Guys, before you move, I'm going to tell you this story.
Yeah.
She says, what do you want to be when you grow up? Look, I always had this gift of the gap. I could talk, you know.
Yes.
And I said, no, I wanted to be a lawyer. And that's my other name.
Yeah.
My name my dad gave me is Umshushis.
Oh.
Yeah, and Umteto Matala. Formally, yeah, that's my name. So I'm like, I want to be that. My mom, because Umzalwan, I've been raised in Umzalwan, he says, you know, in hell, there's a place for people who speak lies. That was my 10 away from being a lawyer.
Khomotso, do you admit or deny?
I do neither.
Yeah. I love lawyers will confuse. I love when you guys speak. When I read some of the judgments and whatever, not that I read a lot of these things, they always say in and around the 15th of October, in and around 9 o'clock. Guys, you know, don't you like know a particular date? It was the 15th. Why, by the way, do you go in and around?
It's because a lot of legalese is technical, so you don't want to get things wrong. So you can lose a case just because you're trying to be precise. So therefore, the smart way to deal with it is to say, during the course of this week, we think it was on Monday. So you allow opportunity not to be caught in a lie. Because a lot of how we interpret laws is very technical. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And we're also honored to have Sifiso Madondo, founder and CEO of the Jombela Group, property group. Sifiso's insights as a leader in the business world are very practical and really visionary. Boy, you know, sometimes when you keep that wisdom, where do you learn these things? You know,
Joe, I don't know why you get amazed. Look, I think the industries that I've been involved in, they're not associated with educated people. I've been a taxi, and I'm like, guys, I've been at ESCOM for 20 years. And I was a senior at ESCO. So it was good to but the other thing, I think my appearance, because being a kami, you know, so all those things. And then the fact that I like speaking Sizulu all the time. And people like, no. There's some things that
you get shocked when you drop bombs.
You know, when I drop bombs from time to time, they're like, wow, why are you not in politics?
That is so funny.
Thank you,
so fun. Welcome, gents.
Sure.
Thank you for having us.
Khomotso, maybe let's start with you. Joe, tell us a bit about your background. Where do you come from? I'm always interested in the initial story because we've spoken about where you are now, and there's probably someone who thinks, Khomotso, they were born in Sandhurst. That's why they can speak these legalese. Tell us a bit about your story.
Thank you. Very shortly, born and bred Kopolokwani, Tef Mankweng.
Wow.
Chovicho.
Sure.
So raised by a single mom, first born of 3. Grew up in a tin house. I actually built my mother a house, so didn't have electricity, candles to study for matric. And my mother taught me, no excuses in life, because life owes you nothing. So therefore you had to work hard for what you have. So studied at Vets, currently doing MBA at Henley, I think 6 months to go. And apart from being a lawyer and a judge, I lecture as well, Vets, UJ. And I also I like doing this. I speak a lot at a lot of conferences about leadership, about personal development and so on. So yeah, that's my background. Yeah. Oh, married as well. I need to mention that. Otherwise,
squeeze it in. You didn't tell people you're married.
And my wife is so beautiful and gracious. So everything I said earlier, she's the most beautiful woman alive. So
and she can sing.
And she's a professional singer.
I feel like that line was for the camera. You must squeeze in with your life is beautiful and kind. No, we love you. I don't know why I'm always surrounded with people who love talking. And by the way, did you ever play cricket?
No. So the schools I went to didn't have cricket as a sport. So it was either Wamata or you play soccer or netball. So didn't. But I've always had an interest in cricket from what I read. So one of my mentors when I was younger gave me magazines and newspapers to read. So I would pick up cricket from that. I had not seen a game. I only went to a first cricket match when I came to VETS, actually. So back in 1998, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
We've been threatening to go to a Cricket World Cup.
Yeah, I
India
did.
is here.
You didn't go.
Yeah,
so you have to
went.
come. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you
we
went.
missed India now. So maybe 4 years from now. Yeah.
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
Dondo, you've been kind of like hoeing in your journey a little bit, but generally speaking, for you, if you can just paint a picture of where you're born, where you grow up, and those kind of things.
Well, I was born and raised at Tembisa. I was born at Tembisa Hospital. So every time I was doing R21,
Yeah.
I show my kids I was born in that building.
Yeah.
So that's where I was born, and I was raised at Tembisa. My parents are from KZN, both of them. So every Good Friday in December, we are shipped down to KZN. I studied at Tembisa, Besama comrade. I remember Sita Safunu corporal punishment. I was doing standard 4. I think we were
What grade is that?
Grade 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we abolished corporate punishment, and we started fighting there. So that's my background, and I finished matric in 1991, and then I went to. I'm old, Joe. I'm 50.
You're old. The team is going.
Somewhere not born. Yeah, I finished 91, then I went to TNT then. It's TUT now here in Soshanguve.
Yes.
Remember then we were still in apartheid. So
Technicons.
So UP, it used to be in the same thing, but we couldn't come.
Yeah.
Blacks were in Soshanguve and whites were here in Pretoria campus. So I was there, and then I did electrical engineering. I finished. And then I went and worked for ESCOM as the first cohorts of black engineers. And then, I went up because I'm this guy who's like good with people. So I was moved from engineering to engineering sales. So that's when I get to learn leadership, and I became a manager, and then I went to VS Business School. I did MEP there, and I wanted to do MBA, and I looked at this thing and I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
So I didn't. I did it halfway and then I left. That's me. And look, I grew up in the church. From a very early age. When I started really noticing things, I was already Sunday school. So I've been throughout and I've been like Christian church. I was Alwane.
Yes.
Our church was Mahon then. Then the biggest churches were Assemblies of God, Faith Mission, and Mahon Mission. So we belonged to Mahon Mission. So I was there, and then I always loved business. I was raised by my dad who worked in construction, and my mom ran her own businesses. So I started business very, very young. So I can say I'm an entrepreneur, and from way back, I think even before I went to school, I had my table already, a station selling, and so that's my background.
What does Jombela Property Group do?
Well, Jombela Property Group, what we do, we buy rundown houses. That's the core business. We buy rundown houses, we renovate them and convert them into apartments.
Nice.
And then rent them out. That's the core business. But now, out of doing that, people saw us and then they asked us to come and do construction work for them. So the construction wing was born. And then a transportation business also was born out of that. So we've got, because Bensema taxi, and I had mastered and I understood that industry, and I was like milking it.
Sure, really?
Yeah, no, I did. I was there for 7 years. And I think on year number 4, I got the formula
of the taxi industry,
of how this thing works.
Tell us.
And then I started buying everyone out.
Buying out
Wow.
of
everyone who had a problem with their car, I'll go in and I'll buy them out, and I'll take their car and I'll make their car work. So I started growing, and I grew, and I grew to an extent that I started attracting attention. So my mom called me aside and said, you know what, I think you must leave that industry. So I left it, but now the transportation business that we have is we only doing staff transport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fascinating. So what do you say, what's the formula for the taxi industry?
No, the formula for a taxi industry is a formula that will work anywhere.
Okay.
But this one worked for me at the taxi industry because I had pain points that I had to solve. The first pain point was that I was not getting the money consistently. Number 2, the cars were driven by different people. When I'm like aligning to come and check who's driving that car now, And I will not even have look, I stay in town. The cars work in Tembisa, Midrand. So they have somewhere where they sleep. I'm not sure where they spend the night, like where they park them overnight. So I had to solve those things. And the cars were always breaking. So I had to solve those 4 things.
Okay.
And then I saw that, no, this thing rises and falls on a driver. The key person in all these problems is the driver.
Okay.
How so? When the car breaks, sometimes your car is not broken. So they take parts from your car, they put them this side, and then they call you, this thing is broken. You are working, this thing is a part-time business. So you send money, they fix it. And then I said to myself, no, I've got to solve this problem. And then I sat down, I looked at it, and then I came with a formula, and it worked like magic. I said to the guys, you bringing me 250 every day. You are now going to bring me 350 every day. And if you calculate it for a week, you're paying me Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sunday. That's what they were working for their salaries. So I said to them, if you make your target on Tuesday, I don't care what you do Wednesday to Sunday.
Wow.
Amazing.
That was the first. Then the catch is, if the car breaks, we all go 50-50. Okay? And then the other thing I did, because I then bought a place where the cars are going to be parked overnight. And then I rented the space to other people who own taxis because I couldn't fill it. So I said the cars must be there at 5 in the afternoon and they must leave 5 in the morning. And I had a guy who was doing the fixing of cars. I said to him, I need you to give me all the things that breaks in the car so that we have them in the space. Remember, I used to do Kaizen, just in time when I was at work. Then I took the just in time philosophy. I applied it on my business. I said, the car, because this is how you lose money in the taxi business. You wake up on Monday, you do your round, your car fails at 11. Then you're going to wait for your mechanic to fix it maybe on Tuesday. You've lost Monday, you've lost Tuesday. But if he fixes it the same day, you're using the Monday money, but on Tuesday you are starting to make your money back again. So I had this guy work in my yard for other guys, but when my cars come, they take priority.
Sure.
And he'll open the space and he'll get the space and then he'll fix. And every week I'll come for all those spaces that were removed. I want to see them. So that formula worked and the guys loved it. And I started making money.
That's proper. That's a masterclass. I think, if I'm listening and I can start thinking about any type of business, as you are saying, you must understand the business that you are in and what is it that is causing you to lose money. Because especially those of us, I started a business, Emma Farm, when I was doing, I had a gospel shop and I was selling CDs and books and whatever, and I was losing money so much. If I thought about this, I could have solved that problem much easier. So thanks, boy.
Thank you, brother.
Khomotso, and your journey, how did you end up specializing more into labor law? Because I think you studied general law. What are some of the things that came up for you to end up there and to even get to a point where you act as a judge at the labor court? Once in a while, they call you Leonard Fred. I've always wanted to call someone Leonard Fred, but I think I'm not allowed.
You can actually.
Is it?
Leonard just means, we use it as lawyers just to refer to the fact that we went to university together. If you consider yourself to be learned, educated, in other words, you can use that word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just an alternative word for educated, just the same way that we changed office to chambers.
Yeah.
Yes. The same, yeah.
Come to my chambers. I like you guys.
Just briefly, I like working with people, and I mentioned earlier on that growing up I had a mentor, so he helped me to be self-aware of my likes, dislikes, but also my signature strengths and weaknesses. So I knew even though academically I did well in terms of other areas of law, banking and finance and so on, I knew that I do better when I work with people. So therefore, employment law or human rights law was always going to be the area of law that I'll pursue. So when I finished university, I worked as a judge's clerk or associate.
Okay.
Worked at the Labour Court, worked at the Supreme Court of Appeal, Constitutional Court, because my judge moved around. And then I then came back to start doing my articles, and then went up the ladder. So therefore, it was poetic actually. That my first acting stint was at the Labour Court, the very place where I started working from. So when I went there, 50% of the staff are people that saw me from my formative years. Well, formative in the career language. So it was good, to connect with them and so on. So yeah, in short, that is why I chose employment law. I like to say to people, it chose me, because work, and as we're going to be talking about the employment relationship, doesn't have to feel like stressful. When you wake up in the morning, you need to look forward to doing what you like, right?
Yes.
So that was very important for me. And yeah, so happy with that.
Work doesn't have to be stressful, but at the moment, when you think about employment relationships, is it inherently antagonistic at the moment? Like the employee and the manager, do we really want the same things or not?
I was just into Madondo, just as we're sitting outside, that on our way here, I started to just grow with me what we're going to talk about. And he was laughing, with some of the notes and stuff. So, and I was like, oh, I've lost my position of being the funniest dad ever, And I said to Dondo, I think the employment relationship is akin to many other relationships, but let's limit it for now to family relationships. A family setup is supposed to be a place where we find solace, where we find peace, where when the world has beaten us up, we run to. But often we run away from the family, because it's not supposed to be antagonistic and tensious, but it is. Most families are dysfunctional. And some of our best friends become family. So it is the same with the employment relationship. It's not supposed to be antagonistic, but it becomes so because we have heard this saying that everything rises and falls on leadership, and I think often we focus on leader as a position, but not on self-leadership. I think if you have someone who's in a position, who knows how to lead themselves, who's self-aware, who's self-motivated, right, who self-corrects, that changes a lot.
Sure.
The same way, if you have a junior employee who understands self-leadership, they become easy to lead and to manage, right? So earlier on you spoke about in and out. Some people don't realize sometimes that based on that lack of understanding and how they project themselves, they place themselves out, not inner. Yeah.
That's fascinating. I think, Dondo, I've heard you talk about people in your team when and you talk about the way you talk about people who work for you and the stories and the things that you share. To me, it seems like you don't believe that this relationship between the CEO and not just the manager and the people in their team must be formal, must be strict, or is there a balance to be made? Because the way the stories you tell about you and your teams sound like ngathi ningabangani, so
look, I think generally me as a person, I'm a people's person, and I generally lean on being very accommodative, and one thing that I had to learn when I ran the business, that there has to be somewhere where I like cut off. For me, the thing that I had to learn is to say no. You crossing the line, because I personally have this not so open door policy. It's like your chair is next to mine. When you have an open door, it's like you've got your office. Me is like your chair is next to mine. So look, I answering your question is, I believe that I am called to make a change and to influence people in a different way. Here's the thing that I always tell people, that everywhere I am and when I leave, I want those people to be 10% better than what they were before they met me. Even on anything that I do. If I come to your yard and you are not there and there's papers, I'll pick those papers up, put them in a dustbin, leave you a note that I was here, was here to see you. You know, so
Are you talking from experience? Is that something that happened? I'm just checking if this
now
happened.
I have to think. The last time this guy was at my house,
there was a party. When I left, I picked up all the rubbish, put them in the boxes. That's just me, you know.
Yeah.
So even in life and in the lives of people, I always, but you know, there are those friends who gathers. Yeah, I gather. So the relationship that we have with the guys is that, number one, I want the best for them. Number two, I demand excellency. I demand excellency. Number three, I display excellency first, and then I demand it. And number four, I reward it and I make it.
Wow.
You see, when you've done something wrong, and I lash at you. Very, very strong. You know, it's a good thing that I don't swear because but I would really would if I were not. But when you've done something good, I call the other guys and I have them here and I say, this guy has done 1, 2, and 3.
sure.
You know, so that thing says to him, because look, everyone wants recognition. In life, generally, you get bashed. In life, generally, life is just telling you that you're not good. Everything, the adverts are telling you you're not good enough.
Yeah.
So there's very rare instances where people really come and say and recognize and notices the best of you and make sure that people know that this is the best of you. To an extent that I had to practice this. You know, when I go to checkers and I'm on a queue and I'm looking at the person who's going to serve me, I check what is really beautiful about that lady. If she's got beautiful eyes, beautiful teeth, beautiful hands. That's the first thing I say when I get there. Sawubona kunjani? Your hands, my sister. They belong to the adverts. And then like,
I don't know if this will fly in my home, but
you know,
okay.
and they're like, okay,
Yeah.
but you have to find something that is genuinely there. You're not flattering.
Yeah.
You must find something that is genuinely there.
Sure.
And even in the workplace,
You know,
people can tell when you're lying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I know I'm not good in this thing.
You know,
but now why are you?
So you must find something that is genuinely there and say, this is what. So it makes things easier. And one of the things that I also do, when they've done wrong, they know. When they've done good, they know. So there's no in between. So when I'm angry, they know that they've done something wrong. And when I'm happy, they know that they've done something. And when I'm happy, I'm super happy. And I'm this person, I am super happy. I'm like, yo, gents, you need shy, right? And everyone is like, you know, they know. When I'm quiet, they're like, Ngamla, what did we do wrong? You know.
So good. Thanks, Bam.
Yeah.
Talking about the idea, therefore, that we have good relationships with employees, the theory that we're also chatting about suggests that we have different relationships. Khomotso, in your capacity as a leader, when you think about it, do you think you inadvertently have people who are in your in group and those in your out group? When you just scan your team, not just your current team, but generally in your leadership journey, do you think that happens?
No, certainly. It's something that happens, and I spoke earlier about self-awareness, right? As a leader, it's important to notice when it happens, then to say what is the cause and how can we stem it, right? How can we stop it? How can we make sure that we are all in one group? Whether we don't have to be in the in or the out, but in the group that is Team Makapane,
Sure.
right? If that is a team. So, and I think the challenge then becomes when you lead people and you get to know them well, you have to know your people, the people you lead as a leader. Because how can you lead me if you don't know me? And by know me, I don't mean know that I love soccer, sports, whatever. I'm talking about know what are my signature strengths, right? Know what are the things that makes me tick. Know that I work best in the evening, work best in the afternoon, whatever the case may be. Know that I'm sensitive, those kind of things. It helps lead, right? That is why as a leader, you can't be a good leader unless if you discriminate. You discriminate fairly. You need to discriminate fairly because you can't treat people the same. It's just not possible because people are not the same. If you then talk about employment policies, right? If you talk about policies in the workplace, they almost expect that people are the same and therefore they have to be treated the same because of the language that is used. And that is why it is always important that when you lead and you recognize that there are certain differences that are important for people to get into the one group that you want to achieve, you also have to speak to those policies. Make sure that you go to HR or you go to people who are above you to say, can we then change this, because it does not allow us to be able to achieve what we want to achieve. So ultimately, I always say to people, if we can get to a point where you get people that you lead to buy into the concept of mutual gain relationship, then you have won.
Yeah. Can you expand a little bit on those mutual gain relationships in the workplace?
So mutual gain relationship means that you understand that a person who comes to work, they are human beings, and some of them are female, some of them are male, some of them have children, but importantly that there are some things that inherently selfishly they want to achieve, and that is for them. Some people come into the workplace because they are career driven and they want to see themselves up there. Some people come because they need money to get by, right? Some people came because they don't know, they were forced by parents. They've got no idea why they have to work. So therefore, for each and every one of these people, you need to therefore say to them, how can we help you? There are some people that we put in certain career plans or paths that they don't want, right? So therefore, you need to understand what they need. So if you do this, this is what we need as an organization. What we need is output, and this is what output means, right? You do you the best way you can, but this is the output. But if we're going to allow you to be that person who's not driven in the organization, if promotion doesn't come, you need to understand it doesn't come because this is what the expectations are, and you won't meet them if this is the attitude, right? And people then understand. So there is mutual gain there. What is it that I benefit from you as an organization or as a leader, and what is that we gain from you as an employee? Then it makes it easier to have conversations about promotions, about salary increases, about opportunities, about being seen, about being given an opportunity to speak. If you don't want to be a leader one day, why are we taking you to leadership courses? And I think that is important.
I've seen instances where an organization, you find that nobody has actually asked you what you want.
Yes.
Né? And then they are busy grooming you for these things that you don't actually care about. And then now suddenly they want to take you to a different, and you say, no, that's not. And they're so disappointed. We saw potential in them. And so what then should be the leadership? And I'm interested in your own leadership style. You said you like making sure that once people interact with you, they're at a better place than they were in. And I think I've heard you say things like, if, for example, someone wants to start a business, you would even help them to start a business. There's someone listening thinking, no ways. People will take advantage of you if that's your leadership style. And I think you've seen a little bit of that.
Yeah, look, in my team, one thing that I always tell people is that people are motivated by money. Money motivates. I don't understand this theory. No, money is not everything. Yeah. Money motivates. Out of the scale, money is 90. Then the other things, they come in. That's for me, that's my experience. Sure. So the guys come in, I'll give you a scenario. The guys come in, I employ them, they mix in daga, they're right at the bottom of the food chain. And then they grow up, and then they go up the ladder. They now can plaster, they can float, they can do this, they can do this, they can paint. Because one of the things that I do, I don't want a person who remains at the bottom. I want a multi-skilled person. And the reason I want a multi-skilled person is because if this one all over, this one can fill in, and we achieve what we achieve. Now, what happens is, if people become multi-skilled, then they get opportunities to do work for themselves. And I say to them, look, you're working with us. You're not working for me. You're working with us. If you find an opportunity, the only thing that I want you to do for me is to tell me, so that I can be able to replace you. That I've got this opportunity. There's this mama, he wants me to build them a room thing, or I'm plastering, or I'm feeding a door. And I'm like, how much did you charge them? Did you look 1, 2, and 3? And you know what I've learned is that all those guys that I release to go and run their own project, when they are finished and they come back and we sit down and we have a debrief, I ask them the first question: did you make money? No, I didn't. I ended up having to pay guys. And did you finish the job? No, I didn't. The client, this. Okay, what did you learn? No, I learned that it's not easy to run this thing. Okay, so you see, the job that I do is not easy. Yes. But one thing that happens is then the next time when they find a project, they come and we sit and we cost the project, and then I let them go and they go and run. But when they come and work for me, those guys are superstars. In the sense that they're able to run the project like the project is theirs, because now they've tasted what it means to slack on the job. Because the other people who are working for them, they slacked on the job and they lost money, so they don't want to do that to me. So this is how I get to learn that this thing is working against everything that everyone has taught me. That you must be competitive. No. One of the things that I've abolished in my mind long time ago, I abolished the mentality of scarcity. And it works. All the guys that I've released to go and start their own businesses, and I visit the sites and I fight with them when they don't do a good job, when they get a bigger job, they bring it to me.
Sure.
Wow.
That is so powerful. And I think I've seen, so that works in entrepreneurship, which is really great. Even in the workplace, I've seen where a leader wants to hog talent. There is this one person that they are trying, and someone else in the bigger group wants that person. They're like, no, that's my person, and without them, I can't perform.
Look, this thing must be in your forefront. It must always be. If all the leaders can have this thing in their offices, that look, these people, it's a airport.
Okay.
These people are lending, but they are going somewhere. And when you release them to go, they will never forget you.
Yeah.
The people that I still remember even today are the people who really set me up in my career. To say, okay, Ndwana, I need you. But go, because this one benefits you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I really believe in that when I release good talent, I'm going to suffer, of course, for the first 2, 3, 4 months, I'm going to suffer. But when I release talent, I always open door for another talent to come.
So good. Thank you very much. Khomotso, you were talking about this concept of fair discrimination, which is one of the things that has always hit me hard. I don't think we talk about this concept of fair discrimination. I want you to zone in and explain what it means for us, because that LMX theory that we're talking about suggests that employees who perceive themselves as in this in-group may receive preferential treatment. And you are saying we don't have to treat people the same. Talk to me about treating people the same versus fair discrimination versus unfair discrimination. How does this thing all work?
The bedrock of that discussion is what I call having a developmental attitude, right, to leadership. So he mentioned how when you have people working for you or with you, you need to have the mindset that says they are going to go somewhere, right? You are training them so that they can stand on their own. We had a helper some few years back, Caroline. When she came, we had a discussion and we said, you are not going to get a 10-year service award here. So what is the plan? She said, I want to study. So she said, give me 5 years to save enough money because this is my passion. So 5 years came and she said, I need 1 more year. As we speak today, Caroline is working somewhere but studying. She's in her 3rd year of study. Because if you are celebrating and awarding someone for working for you for 10, 20 years, you also need to ask yourself, in that period, did I actually try to help them? Right? Developmental, right? But then if I then have someone who comes to me and says, as a helper, says, I don't want to study anything. I just want to work. You can't force them. So I can't treat them the same.
Yes.
Right? I can't treat them the same. So in the workplace, we in HR, we have this concept where we call people talent, right? And we call some people, they're doing well, whatever. So we've got all those categories. And because of that, we don't treat them the same. That is the reality. But what must precede that is a discussion. One, that we have made effort and people know openly that we have sat down with them and we have distilled out of them what are their gifts, their talents, what are their aspirations. And based on that, if someone is in a certain group or is being given certain treatment, it is understood it is because of what they have expressed, what we have observed, but also at the same time, what is that they want to achieve. No matter how talented you are, if you come to me and you say, I don't want to be a partner, I'm not going to put you on a partner promotion path because you don't want to be a partner. Because self-motivation is important, right, for someone to be able to undertake that job. And I also know what is on the other side as a partner, what is going to require. So therefore, when we speak about unfair discrimination, It is when you don't have these conversations beforehand. People just see people being taken to cricket matches and overseas trips, and they are not given those opportunities, and they don't understand why. And it is too late, and it doesn't justify the fairness or the unfairness of that if you try to explain after the fact. To say the reason why I didn't take you to the cricket match is because of this. But how it must happen is that in the team, you need to say, I've got 100 people in my team. I know them. Of course, with the help of HR and other people who are professionals, who can help you to get people, because sometimes people say to you, I don't want this. But if you spend time with them and they've been coached and so on, they realize, well, actually, I want it. I'm just lazy. That self-awareness I spoke about. So therefore, we get them to be helped with how do you get self-motivated, right? So once you have done all these things, people, when they see other people being promoted and they are not, or whatever, the conversations changes. And therefore, it takes away the tension from the employment relationship. There's still times when you as a leader just have an inclination towards someone. You just have a liking towards them. Sometimes it's because they share the same faith with you. Sometimes it's because they laugh at your jokes. These things matter,
Yeah, they do.
But earlier on I spoke about being self-aware. When these things happen, you therefore need to then say, okay, this is what I am doing. Be open about it. Say to the people, oh, look, you might have seen this and this and this is because of this and that and that. So it just helps manage people and manage the relationships. And again, as I say, whenever you then sit down with people and you talk about career progression or you talk about a grievance, the starting point is there to say, remember, we had this conversation, this is what we had said at the time. But even then, still allow people to change their minds. Don't then say, well, you are in the dog box and therefore you stay there or remain there. So give people an opportunity to say, okay, I think now this is what I want to do, and help them along.
Talking about self-awareness, there was a time in my career, I've had a really great corporate career, but there was this one time where it became very clear to me that there was one of my colleagues who our boss really loved. Our boss was gravitating to this colleague of mine. She got the best gigs. When the boss couldn't go to Exco, she went to Exco. She's in the room as we are recording, and
and we won't look.
We won't look that side. But I then had to sit back and realize that this is based on merit. When you look at her, she is performing.
Yeah.
She cares about the things that our boss cares about, and she can do the things that our boss really wants her to be done. What is the role of that self-awareness to say, the reason I'm not in this so-called in-group is there's also a bit of, I need to step up, to be honest.
Look, Mina, I've always been in the out-group. Yes.
Yeah.
I've always been in that group and I've always looked, but I could tell why I was in the out group.
Yeah.
But one of the things, I think I was just too honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes bosses don't like honest people.
Yes.
When something's not gonna work, I can see it coming, and I'm like, this one is not gonna. So I did not have a tag. So I would be blunt. So people didn't like that. I was too blunt and And the other thing, I didn't like this thing. I need angpuz.
Yeah.
So when we are out on team buildings, people are staying until about 12.
Yes.
No. The other thing, my English data runs out.
Bundles.
My bundles, they run out. Remember the era, guys.
Yes.
It's 2-3 blacks and white people.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only laugh to so many white jokes, and you can only speak English up until a certain time. So I was there when I'm really supposed to be there, But once they say it's free time, I'm off to my hotel room.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, Sifiso, come play with us. Guys, my data bundles are finished. If people don't know that English runs out,
they must ask you.
They must ask me, Remember, Tina, then English was a language to really do work.
To work and done.
As soon as I'm speaking Nospiwe Nyashi,
yes.
I could not. You would not find a place where it's me and Spiwe call me English. No.
Yes.
Actually, there was even a rule, an HR rule, that once you're at work, speak English.
Speak English, yeah.
Because then, the kids now, when you tell them about that rule, they're like, What kind of a rule is it? So I've always been the guy in, but
I don't want you to pass this point because I think it's so critical. The role of these networking sessions, the role of
they're critical.
socializing and their impact on one's career progression, they're critical.
That thing is critical. That thing is like as you grow and you become old and become wiser, you can see that no, these things are important. You must be in these things. You must be there. That's why people network. That's why most decisions are made. Even though they're not formal, but they're actually made there to say, okay, this is the direction we are going to follow. This is what we are going to do.
Sure.
And if you are not there, you are not part of the group. Then so I think as what Makapane was saying, Nguti, as a leader, you need to be self-aware. One of the things that I've learned from one of the things that I do religiously, I guess that's because of the background where I come from, being raised in the church, is that you must always have times of reflections. So I do these things religiously. I reflect on my day, how my day was, what made me angry, why was I angry when that person said what they said. I do that thing religiously. It helps me to improve personally. So as I'm doing my reflections and I'm listening to motivational videos and stuff, I get to listen to this guy. He says one of the things that he really tells people who are in leadership to do is to speak to their subordinates and their employees to say, can you just tell me about me? Yeah. What are my weaknesses? What do you think I'll be better at improving? And give them time. And he says, no, I said to my secretary, I'll give you a week. She said, no, I don't need a week.
I'm ready.
I can tell you now. And she started giving the boss. And the boss was like, are you enjoying this? She says, no, I'm like telling you the truth.
Why are you so ready?
Kairos moment.
So it helps. I know that is not easy, but it helps. It makes you see how the guys see you. And the fact, the sooner you can see how the guys see you, then you can adjust and be able to say, okay, I agree with this. This is a surprise. Okay, I must look at this. I must look at that. Then it makes, one of the things that I can tell you, Spiwe, that for free, without paying me, is that unless
my voice is still coming, but anyway,
unless your people trust you, and for you to build that trust, you must be honest with your people. When we do a project and there's money in the project, I tell them, guys, this project is costed very well. So let's do it. And then once we're done, we are not only going to get paid our salaries, we're going to share some of the money. And when we've done the project, and I said, okay, guys, the project has money, but we didn't see 1, 2, and 3, so there's no money anymore. Or, guys, I needed to use the money for this thing and that thing and that thing. We bought this tool, we bought that tool. So there's no money anymore. They know. I am honest with them, and I'm honest to an extent that other people think I'm becoming too honest. I'm like, no, because I will need these guys. Because when we're doing good, it must be a benefit for all. And guess what? Out of 10 projects, 2 were doing good. The 8 were not doing so good. So you need these guys to understand when we are not doing good. Because one thing that I always really hated when I was working is that as employees we'll be asked to carry the burden and carry the company when things are not good. But when things are good, the gain sharings are not coming.
That's so good. And I think it then leads to Khomotso. There are some studies that have been found that have found that when employees then do not feel like they share in the good, when they feel like they're part of an out group or they're treated as such by their leaders, they may respond by doing a few things. So the first study says they reduce their effort, they engage in counterproductive behaviors, they withdraw psychologically, I'm here but I'm not here. And they also seek alternative social identities where someone thinks, okay, since no one wants my creativity here, I'll be creative at church, I'll be creative in other things that I do. Do those resonate?
No, certainly. So one of the things we forget, to our detriment, is that whether you run a business or you manage employees for a company, that we are part of a society, that these people have homes, they've got challenges, whatever. So what is important is also to always remember that about 60-70% of these people's lives is dedicated to the organization, right? If you think about it, how much time do we spend at work? And how much time do we spend out of it? So therefore, if you are a good manager or leader, because I also believe there is a difference between management and leadership.
Yes.
Leadership is helping people to go from one point to another. Management is based on agreed scores that people can reach those things.
Sure.
There are people who are not well led who can still reach the scores that are put to them, but then they are not progressing. They're not moving from one place to another, right? So as a good leader, not a manager, you need to also be aware of the environment for the people you lead, right? That you don't lose them to those things you're talking about. But if someone is demotivated, how do you bring other functionalities as well to help, right? I always think that the role of HR is to be a bridge, right, between the juniors and the seniors. And as a bridge, therefore it speaks of stability, not only access, but stability. And often we don't use HR that way, right? So in my institution, that is how I use HR. If I see something and maybe I can't get a message across, I use them they don't only come into the room if there is a problem or because they have to convey a message from management. But sometimes I get feedback from them, right? To say the reason why this person says because this is what you said or this is what you did, and then you fix that. But then as I say, if someone has a child, right, and it might be important that every now and then you sacrifice organizational time for them to attend their functions, right? Because that will make sure that you buy more commitment from them. But also, if you then go back to the initial discussion, I said, if you know where people are placed and you're not forcing them to do things that are not germane or inherent for them or important for them, then it helps to make sure that they don't disengage, because you always try and find ways to make sure that the projects they engage in or participate in speaks to who they are. It is not always possible, and when that happens, you explain to them, we are not doing well now. The work that is going to come, it's not what you like. But can I ask that we show the same commitment? They understand. So therefore, even when you call them or you correct them with a red pen, you do so with that understanding, that this is not something which excites them, but you still want them to be upbeat about it and so on. Yeah.
You look like you wanted to jump in. Phela wena
No, I'm learning, I'm absorbing.
Yeah.
One of the things that people don't give me credit for is that I listen and I absorb.
And he does, Shan, he does. For the years I've known him, he does.
Oh my goodness. All right, guys. So we want to move because I know we're going to run out of time very soon. The team says 5 minutes never. This watch is not right. This watch is not right. So then if we think about then creating an environment where each and every employee feels like I am part of this team. Because we now know when people feel a little bit excluded, they withdraw. What are some of the things that leaders can do? And I want us to give quick, punchy answers on this, and you can take whichever one. What are some of the things that leaders can do to create an environment where every person feels like I'm seen and I can contribute? On the other side, what are some of the things that employees can do if I feel like, maybe I'm not part of the people that are considered the in-group, maybe just like Spiwe, it was because I'm not performing at that same level. What are some of the advices that you can give us as we nudge ourselves towards the close?
Look, I think my take is always make sure that people know that you've got their interest at heart. If people know your heart, whatever you say, it does not, even if you land a blow, if you land a blow from a good place with a good heart, it's a blow of correction rather than a blow of distraction.
Yeah. That was good. You know those TikTok shots, guys.
Yeah.
If I trust your heart or what, the blow, what?
If I land a blow from a good place in my heart, it's a blow of correction, not a blow of distraction.
Man. Hey, that's powerful.
It means the church is hard.
I would drop the mic.
Basket.
Yeah.
But now the mic,
It's expensive, please don't.
These guys are expensive. Please don't do such things.
I think from my perspective, 2 things that I want to share. One is, particularly from the position of a junior, you always need to be mindful and aware of the fact that no matter how talented, gifted you are, those things on their own, they're not good enough. When I was young, my mother used to say to me when I come back from school with a report, I mean, they used to give us reports in those brown envelopes, right?
Yes.
She will not open it. She will take it, put it away and say, son, all that I need to hear from you is that you did your best. How often do we ask ourselves, as juniors, as employees, if I did my best? It's the same for leaders, but just speaking to the juniors now, did you do your best, right? So that is the first thing. The second thing is often you need tact. You need to have conversations more. You need to almost understand, I'm not always going to agree or see things the same way with my boss, but his word will always go. At the same time, you need to manage expectations. How you manage expectations, don't just be in an environment and have expectations, have conversations, have agreements. When you speak to people, you say, okay, so what you are saying to me is that if I did A, B, C, D, and E, then this is what will happen. So if that doesn't happen, you go back. It creates accountability, right? But any leader likes people who are self-motivated, right? Self-driven,
Yes,
right?
yes.
If you are not self-driven, sorry, I don't know how to translate that, but
You can
there's
take
probably
the horse.
someone listening who like, he can speak Spanish.
So I think let me leave it as just to say be self-motivated, but also at the same time always do your best, because if you haven't done your best, even when you go and you want to question someone, you always have that niggling feeling, and therefore how often you react is you react from a place of anger, dissatisfaction, because you know you didn't do your best. But if you did your best, you don't need to open that envelope or that report.
So you work in the legal space, right? Are there any times where you get something that comes to your desk or to part of your team members about a broken employment relationship? Are there any times where you think this shouldn't have come to this stage, where yes, I'm going to help my clients legally speaking, but if we focused on certain things, this wouldn't have reached this stage?
Yeah. I'm actually currently on a roadshow where I speak to a lot of my clients about that, about what we call high performance, about how to avoid conflict and how to manage conflict. And one of the things that I tell them is that we have relegated the responsibility to manage to HR, right? To manage. But also at the same time, a lot of companies don't invest in leadership, right? Good managers are not always good leaders, but if you have a good manager and a good leader, there are a lot of things that are eliminated and never really even get to the door of HR, and therefore don't even go out to go to a law firm. But because the company has invested in those two things. As Dondo said earlier, authenticity cannot be overstated.
Sure.
There cannot be trust where there is no authenticity.
Exactly.
Right? Because once it is broken, once trust is broken, right, it is almost impossible to restore it in a work context, right? Because a year in someone's career means so many things outside of work, right, for them. And that is very important, that we are authentic as leaders, and we are also able to say what we don't know, what we know, and that will help cultivate trust between us.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in when you spoke about the juniors to say my advice to the juniors would be like, guys, if as a junior you are in any environment, just be the first on everything. Just raise your hand.
Wow.
Raise your hand and say, I can do that. Can I take that? Can I take that one? Can I do this? That first 5 years as a junior, if you do that, I tell you, because here's the thing, people don't understand that whatever you plant at work, that is your garden.
Yeah.
Whatever is going to come up, that is going to be your reward.
Yeah.
Wow.
And no one can take that away. They can fire you, but the experience and the fact that when you fire a guy, I'll tell you, Chabupule. We've got Chabupules. Those who don't know what Chabupule is. Those guys who are superstars. When they're not at work, you can see that, hey son, this guy again.
Yeah.
When you're a junior and you really offer yourself, when you are not there, we'll see you when you are not there. And we'll all call and say, hey Baba, when are you coming back? You know how important that is when your seniors can call you and say, when are you? So to all the juniors, my advice is like, make yourself available, make yourself visible, really go out of your way and do over and above. When you're doing what you are paid for, you haven't started as a junior. As a junior, you must always do over and above. Then you've started movement in your career.
That is so good.
Someone in the room is nodding very hard, because clearly from what we heard earlier, she was doing exactly that,
Yes, so true.
Okay.
It's so important. I think, we were actually speaking about that. That's why the HR executive in the room that we had earlier, Caesar, is nodding so hard. That how now I've mentioned the name and then it's gonna connect with that story. And we delete nothing on this podcast.
No. There is no delete button.
We don't
It's
have a
broken.
delete button. So I'm gonna give you guys 1 or 2 minutes to say your concluding thoughts. So just think about it. But the things that I've heard from you is that in order to create an environment and make sure that everybody feels like they belong and they can execute their tasks, as a leader, lead by example. Just demonstrate the behaviors and the values that we speak about. The actions that you want from them, demonstrate them. Have open and transparent communication. Actively listen to people and be empathetic and understand where they come from. And then the trust issue that you spoke about, that there can never be trust without authenticity. That's what Khomotso said. So in conclusion, gents, thank you very much for having us, for coming through. And it wraps up this particular episode. But I want you guys to say any last word that you have, and how do people book you, find you? Khomotso speaks. How do people book you if they want you to come and speak about this employment relationship or any other things in the workplace? Madondo also speaks in encouragement and motivation and entrepreneurship. How do people book? Oh, you don't need money anymore.
No. I always want money.
Give me last comments and how people can follow you, find you,
Yeah.
and so on.
Thank you. Just maybe the last concluding word. Don't dress for the job you have, dress for the job you want. So, and dress not figuratively, so not in the actual sense, but also figuratively, right? So whatever you already have, you have it. So therefore, the effort you're going to give for the next level, right? And that means or presupposes, what is your next level, right? That is important. And then also, whatever you do it such that a passerby will look at it and say, wow, whether it is sweeping, right? Whether it is cleaning a window, that someone passing by will say, windows are irrelevant in the great scheme of things, but I want to know who touched this window, right? So with that said, I do talks spanning from leadership and dialogue to self-development, personal development, and so on. You can find me on Khomotso Makapane on all social media platforms, and email is kmakapane@icloud.com. Thank you for having us.
Say it again.
kmakapane@icloud.com.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
On all social platforms as well.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah, no.
Last words.
Last words. Thank you, guys. Thanks for
Last words, 40 seconds. Because Dondo's last words can be 5 minutes. You guys have experienced that. Which I love. I love your wisdom, by the way.
Thank you so much. You find me on Facebook, Sifiso Madondo. That's the only social I have. I've got these other ones. I don't know how they work.
True story.
So I don't know their handle. Apparently, I'm on TikTok. But on Facebook, you'll find me. At least that one I'm conversant with. Sure. And my last thought is that everything accumulates to your account. It's a long-term goal. It's a long-term game. You must always look at it. I told you last week that when we build a wall, a straight wall. If you're out by an inch, by half a centimeter, millimeter, if you are building a short wall, is no problem. But if it's a long wall, being out by 5 millimeters, when you get to the end, you're out by a kilometer. So always correct every day, always correct. But always be aware that everything that you do accumulates into your account.
Thank you very much, gents. And in conclusion, remember, while conflicts may arise, the employment relationship doesn't have to be inherently antagonistic, as my guests have argued. Organizations can build more vital, more harmonious workplaces with effective leadership, legal guidance, and a commitment to open communication. So thank you for joining us today. Up until next time, keep exploring the intricacies of the employment relationship, foster understanding, and make your workplaces better. Please, work does not have to suck. Can I get a poo to close this thing?
Yes, nice. Ziyakhala. Sisespikile. Zikuna uspeaker baba ziyakhala.
I hope they got that last part. I don't know where time went. These guys are so cool.